It has been a long time since Soojin left I-DLE and stepped into the spotlight alone, but the excitement around her solo career is fading fast. Ticket sales for her tour have been so low that almost 20 shows are already cancelled, and now everyone is asking the same thing. Why have the fans and the industry walked away from her? Before everything fell apart, many believed Soojin was quietly building a solid path as a solo artist. She might not have ruled every chart or shattered every record, but her career moved steadily, and she had loyal fans who supported her from the beginning. That is why the collapse of her tour felt so unexpected and confusing to many. To walk through what happened, the fan concert tour called Summer Days was officially announced on May 31st, starting with a series of shows across Asia. Once she completed the Singapore stop, the second part of the tour was revealed, and this time it was planned for North America. But then, out of nowhere, on October 11th of last year, the event company Everline announced that the North America leg was no longer happening at all. They avoided giving any real explanation, only saying that there were unavoidable circumstances from the organizers. The announcement raised eyebrows instantly, mostly because everything was cancelled before any dates had even been announced. From there, people started trying to piece together what might have gone wrong. Some genuinely thought unexpected internal issues might have caused the change, but others pointed to different possibilities. One theory was that the company underestimated the massive cost of touring in the United States. The bills would have stacked up fast, from visa fees to travel and housing costs, food, instruments, costumes, equipment, and renting venues. With attendance already low and a fan base not large enough to cover these expenses, many believed the tour was financially impossible from the start. BRD, the agency managing her, is also extremely small with only 2 artists, so the investment may have seemed too risky. Still, not everyone accepted that explanation. Some questioned how anyone could know ticket sales were weak when the tour dates had never even been announced in the first place. In the end, whatever the real reason was, fans were left confused and worried, hoping the cancellations had nothing to do with Soojin's health or personal well-being. That first cancellation was not the end of the story at all, because the same tour would end up falling apart again less than a year later. Trying to repair the damage and give fans what they had been waiting for, Soojin and her team revived the project in the summer of 2025, this time under a new name, Summer Days. The fresh set of dates was announced on June 25th, and the plan was to begin in Vancouver on September 15th before finishing in Orlando on October 17th, almost exactly a year after the original tour was cancelled. Tickets were scheduled to go on sale on June 27th, and although many fans complained that the announcement and sale window were extremely rushed, the excitement was still there. People were happy to finally have another chance, and were especially thrilled that she was including cities that most K-pop artists skip entirely, like Vancouver and Detroit, which made the shows feel more personal and rare. However, not everyone felt confident about the timing. Many noticed that the tour lined up directly with other major tours from LE SSERAFIM, Baby Monster, and STAYC, and they worried that the overlap might hurt ticket sales more than expected. At the time, that seemed like the biggest problem, but fans would soon realize it was only the beginning, and something much larger was about to unfold. Then, on August 22nd, only a few days before Soojin was supposed to release new music, a statement came out informing fans that the United States leg of the tour was cancelled again. The announcement came directly from Abridge, the company in charge of managing the tour, and they explained that the decision was made because of unforeseen circumstances that they did not go into detail about. They stressed that the situation had nothing to do with Soojin herself, saying her health and her upcoming activities were not affected by the cancellation. In the same statement, they apologized for the disappointment and frustration the news might have caused, and asked everyone to be understanding, promising that more information would be shared as soon as they were able to provide it. It felt like a repeat of the first collapse, and the timing made it even harder for fans to process, since everything was announced right before her next release. This time though, the reaction was completely different. When the second cancellation was announced, hardly anyone was shocked, as fans admitted that after everything that had unfolded, they felt like they should have expected it from the very beginning. People started looking back at the pattern, pointing to how the first tour barely received any real promotion despite how big it was supposed to be. Between that cancellation and the relaunch of the tour, Soojin did not release any new music at all, and her next comeback only happened after everything had already fallen apart, which made the whole situation feel even more unstable. Fans also pointed out that when the company decided to bring the tour back, they repeated the same mistakes without fixing anything. Instead of trying smaller venues or adjusting to a realistic scale, they went even bigger. The locations were larger than before, and the ticket prices were noticeably higher, which left many wondering what the strategy even was. It quickly became clear that these decisions were likely the real reason the tour failed again, something that K-pop companies and event organizers seem to do far too often with other artists as well. The reality was that even though Soojin was one of the most loved members of I-DLE as a soloist, she simply did not have the size of a fandom needed to fill the huge venues they had chosen for her. To explain, 2.5 2.5 months before Re-Summer Days was supposed to begin in North America, total ticket sales were still below the halfway mark. Some cities were doing especially poorly, with Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Atlanta selling under 30% of their available seats, and Dallas moving only 9.5% of its 905-seat venue. At that point, everyone could see what was coming next. It was only a matter of time before they either cut multiple stops or canceled the entire run completely. The pricing made everything worse. Front row tickets were allegedly approaching $500, which pushed away even the fans who genuinely wanted to support her. One disappointed fan wrote, "I actually wanted to buy tickets, but they were out of my price range. She needs smaller venues and cheaper prices." Some fans also questioned the very idea of sending Soojin to North America at all. At that point, she had released fewer than 20 songs in total, and her Spotify listenership hovered around just 145,000, which made it clear that her fan base wasn't nearly large enough to support a tour of that scale. On top of that, none of her tracks had become major hits, meaning there was no standout song to draw crowds or anchor the tour's appeal. Fans also highlighted a few other key problems, including the lack of promotion for both her new single album and the tour itself, as well as Soojin's complicated reputation in Korea. On that front, many argued that BRD had taken a real gamble by signing her, since she was still coming off one of the biggest scandals in recent years, and there was only so much the company could do to rebuild her image. But that didn't absolve BRD from responsibility. Many felt their marketing and promotion strategies were shockingly poor. It had already been 5 years since Soojin left I-DLE, and in a market overflowing with new groups and solo artists, the company did little to help her stand out or maintain relevance. Fans speculated that the company and American promoters were relying too heavily on online chatter, mistaking the volume of posts about Soojin on social media for actual fan support. Based on that assumption, they booked large venues expecting them to sell out, but the reality was very different, leaving the tour in serious trouble before it even began. Since the first tour was cancelled, Soojin had only released one single album consisting of 2 tracks, the title song Batitude and the B-side Little Bit More. The title track drew mixed reactions but didn't make a significant impact, and sales were low, a result many had already anticipated. Promotion for the single was minimal, and it came out more than a year after her previous comeback Agashi. During that long gap, there had been very little activity from Soojin, which meant much of the attention she once had faded. Releasing just a single album after such a long hiatus wasn't enough to reignite interest or get people talking about her again, and with a tour already planned, fans were left confused about the direction the company was taking with her career. Things only got more complicated later in the year. On November 9th, Soojin's fan meeting in Shanghai, titled Meet You, was abruptly cancelled, with the company pointing to local circumstances in China and other unavoidable factors as the reason. Shortly after, her December 12th concert in Hong Kong was also called off, again citing unavoidable circumstances. The organizer even went so far as to create a new Twitter account just to announce the cancellations. This brought the total number of cancelled shows to over 17 in just a single year, a staggering number for an artist of her level. Fans quickly pointed to familiar issues: low ticket sales, almost no promotion, and venues that were far too large. Whatever the official reason, most people agree that BRD Entertainment has been mishandling nearly every aspect of Soojin's career, from the music and number of tracks to promotion, marketing, and even tour planning. All of this has left fans questioning why the company signed her in the first place if they weren't going to invest properly in her growth or help her reach her full potential. Fans are holding out hope that once her contract ends, Soojin might move on from the company. At the same time, many are curious about where she could go next and what the future holds for her career. For now, only time will tell, so if you want to keep up with her journey and see what happens next, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates. But to understand how everything collapsed, we need to go back to the moment everything changed. The point when Soojin was removed from I-DLE and the story that was told to the public left more questions than answers.
Fans of Cube Entertainment Group seem to be going through a streak of bad luck lately.
After Eugene announced CLC's disbandment on Girls Planet 999, I-DLE fans got some shocking news as well. Seo Soojin was said to be leaving the group following the accusations for inappropriate behavior from a middle school classmate. But is she really leaving on her own, or was she forced out of the company? Despite the fact that both Cube Entertainment and Soojin denied the accusations, Soojin went on hiatus and had been absent from the group activities since March, and well, more than 5 months later, Cube announced her departure from I-DLE. They were even so quick that they actually already removed her from the official website and the group's Spotify profile. But are these accusations the only reason Soojin left, or is there something more sinister going on in the background that Cube Entertainment is trying to cover up? This case smells fishy as hell. The Korean entertainment industry has been flocking with accusations of inappropriate behavior this year like crazy, and it has left fans on the edge, wondering whether their favorites could be the next one to be exposed. From Luna's Chu, ITZY's Leah, 17's Mingi, to beloved actress Seo Ye-ji, stories about celebrities mistreating and hurting their fellow classmates have been coming up really often, some true and some not. One of the most shocking news was definitely Soojin being accused of bad behavior, not once, not twice, but a total of 3 times in the span of a few weeks. We've already discussed how Soojin was allegedly quite the bad girl when she was young. She apparently smoked, drank, and even rode a motorcycle. Soojin admitted that even though she wasn't the best behaved student, she didn't hurt any of her classmates either mentally or physically. But this didn't stop new rumors from popping up. Another accusation came out on February 12th when the alleged victim A claimed, in a now deleted Pan post, that Soojin was awful to them in middle school. But due to them not providing any evidence except pictures of Soojin from when she was in school, netizens didn't take the accusation seriously. Well, how could they? The only thing those pictures proved was that they went to school together, and that was it. You'd think that they would have more evidence for such a serious accusation. After being criticized by netizens for the lack of proof, B commented under their post, "Soojin, you're lucky that you have so many people to shield you, even with all the things you did. You should have been nicer to people," and then deleted the post entirely. Soojin couldn't catch a break because things only seemed to go down from there. Even though this post was deleted just in time, another accusation came out. This time, it was from the alleged victim that called themselves B, and the alleged victim's older sister, who claimed the singer made her sibling's life a living nightmare. The sister stated on Instagram, "She would call my sibling and my sibling's friend to the bathroom and make them each other, and would send group texts saying that my sibling is a loner and outcast." After these statements, waves of Korean news and media sites began to report on the accusations, and this prompted Cube Entertainment to finally take action and state that not only were all these allegations false, but they would take legal action to protect their artist. And this should have been the end of it all, right? Well, not quite, because let's be real, Cube never protects their artists. The last straw came from actress Seo Shine, who through a strange story on Instagram raised even more suspicion about the innocence of Soojin in this whole drama. "None of your excuse," the actress wrote, and yes, technically she didn't specify anything, but this coming right after the Cube statement, it didn't exactly take a genius to connect the dots about whom the post could be about. Supposed classmates of Shine came out to support her statements, implying that it was about Soojin, but again, no concrete evidence was given by any of them. Soojin was probably tired of Cube being unable to do their job properly and decided to take matters into her own hands by posting a statement addressing the accusations one by one. She went through every event described by the people accusing her and explained that yes, she may have done some rash and dumb things, but she never hurt anyone to the extent the accusers described. She couldn't even remember half of the things that she was accused of doing. Soojin even confirmed that her and victim B's representatives met, and when it came to Seo Shine, Soojin claimed that they had never interacted together and asked for Shine to clear things up herself. She apologized for inappropriate behavior like her smoking and drinking, but insisted on her innocence when it came to declarations of her mistreating other students. This encouraged a wave of support from her old friends from elementary school, one even writing a long post debunking all of Shine's arguments, and went as far as to say that if they were asked about the testimonies by the alleged victim, they'd have no problem answering the questions. The alleged classmate said, "Soojin never inflicted school upon Seo Shine. When Seo Shine transferred to our school, she hung out with me. The group of kids never looked at her and laughed at her. This just made things all the more confusing." Shine must have been triggered by Soojin claiming she didn't even know her, because the actress posted a long caption on her Instagram about the situation, still not addressing Soojin by name. She says she doesn't remember and that she never talked to me, and that's right. It was always a one-sided affair with her insults. It is regrettable that she came to the conclusion that the remarks and actions she made within her group weren't true. This seemed to be the last straw for Cube, who announced that they were investigating the claims and that Soojin would be exempt from all group activities for an indefinite time, meaning she was put on hiatus. It's so typical of Cube to do anything but the right thing when it comes to problems like these. The situation got even shadier when they removed her from the song and cut her out of the Last Dance music video like that would solve anything. I could pretend to understand her going on hiatus until everything was officially resolved, but acting like she didn't exist in the first place, that simply doesn't seem right. But with Hyunjin rejoining Stray Kids activities after being faced with similar accusations, and even industry experts predicting an I-DLE comeback as a full group, Neverland's got their hopes up about the situation finally coming to a conclusion. But that was certainly not what happened, and I think that's on us for hoping for the best when we know the company we're dealing with here. How naive
believe we were, guys.
On August 14th, Cube Entertainment announced that Soojin decided to leave the group and that I-DLE would continue to promote as a 5-member group.
Fans were definitely not pleased.
One angry fan wrote, "We waited for almost 6 months without any updates from Cube, and now you're giving us this crap announcement. She doesn't deserve all of this."
Good for them.
It's only fair to be angry after seeing how the company has been handling everything. This has dragged on for 6 months and ended with her leaving the group even though Cube made it seem like the hiatus would sort the issue out. Who wouldn't be angry about this? But is the scandal the only thing that prompted her departure, or is there something else going on that Cube doesn't want us to know about? In her statement about the situation, Soojin said that if anything from the accusations was proven to be correct, that she would leave the group herself, and that's the exact thing that Cube said in the announcement. So that should be a clear-cut ending to this, but before we come to any hasty conclusions, let's once again see who we're dealing with. We should take into consideration the fact that Cube Entertainment are not exactly known for their stellar management and are regarded as the worst company that deals with K-pop idols. They managed to mess up a perfectly good group like 4Minute, plus they horribly managed CLC and didn't even give us an official statement about their disbandment. But most importantly, let's recall how they handled the Hyuna and I-DLE dating scandal, because this whole Soojin situation seems oddly familiar. In 2018, it was reported that Hyuna and former Pentagon member were dating, and despite Cube denying it, Hyuna admitted to the relationship and asked for support from their fans. Cube just couldn't let the couple be happy, could they? Apparently not, because they were both kicked out soon after for breaking the royalty and loyalty between the artist and the company. Stans weren't convinced by the excuse either, because everyone with more than 2 brain cells knows that even though dating is frowned upon in the industry, it's still not a good enough reason to kick the artist out of the company. Especially Hyuna. Hyuna of all people. She was basically keeping the lights on in that company by that time, and they still kicked her out. This, on top of CLC's dismissal and Soojin leaving the group, it's like they want to go bankrupt. Doesn't this make things even more suspicious though? A fan on Twitter said, "She didn't decide to leave, they forced her to because they don't know how to deal with situations like this. A pathetic company." And I couldn't agree more. You mean to tell me Soojin, who persuaded her father to become an idol despite him disapproving and who worked hard for years, would just leave the group? Not very likely, unless there was something shady happening behind closed doors. And the fact that they just debuted another girl group, get those girls out of there before it's too late, please. So, the Soojin saga finally came to an end, and it's not one we're happy with. Choosing the easy way out instead of dealing with controversies and protecting their artists seems to be the Cube way of doing things, and it's probably going to be their downfall as a company. Let's just hope the remaining artists manage to escape before they meet the same fate.
After Soojin was pushed out of the group, she disappeared from the spotlight completely. For a long time, nobody knew what happened next until 2 years later, when an unexpected update finally appeared.
It's been 2 years since Soojin was first accused of mistreatment and her career got ruined, which has made people wonder, what is she up to now? Well, we come to you with the most recent updates on Soojin's whereabouts. February of 2021 and the months following it were hell on earth for K-pop fans, as idol after idol kept being accused of mistreating their peers in school. Whether these accusations were true or just an attempt to ruin said idol's career, they ran wild during this period. Even though all of these allegations were shocking on their own, the accusations against Soojin garnered particularly a lot of attention, and it was no wonder. It all began when a netizen came out and claimed to have been mistreated by Soojin during their middle school years. Accusations of underage smoking and drinking also surfaced, which made the whole thing worse for her. Cube Entertainment, the agency representing Soojin, refuted these claims, and most of Soojin's fans didn't believe the accusations in the first place due to the absence of evidence. The lack of evidence led to criticism of Soojin's accuser, with netizens wondering if the accusations were true or if the netizen just wanted to take down a successful woman, though it didn't help that the sibling of the netizen who previously accused Soojin of mistreatment came forward with similar allegations. Following these revelations, various Korean news outlets and media platforms covered the story, and it made the story get even bigger than it was intended to. What was important, though, was that the people who believed the accusations were very few. However, everything took a turn when actress Soojin posted an enigmatic story on her Instagram account, leading to speculation that it was connected to Soojin's controversy. Soojin eventually took it upon herself to address every accusation in a statement, admitting to some mistakes during her teenage years but denying the mistreatment. She also mentioned an agreement reached with an accuser known as B, which should have put things to rest once and for all. Amid the whole mess, people who allegedly attended Soojin's elementary school at the same time as her spoke out in her support, refuting Shanae's claims. Nonetheless, Cube decided to put Soojin on hiatus following additional accusations and Soojin's CFs getting deleted from brands' pages. is. But as people thought she would be getting out of this, on August 14th, 2021, Cube surprised the public by announcing Soojin's departure from I-DLE while a police investigation was still ongoing. Although Shin A and others were found not guilty of defamation, demonstrating mistreatment from the past still proved to be difficult from both parties. Soojin's whereabouts after she left the group became uncertain, as she seemingly faded out of the public eye, and it's no wonder. In South Korea, where school-related mistreatment is taken so seriously that careers get ruined over it, there was a widespread boycott of her. Nevertheless, her international fan base kept supporting her, and they showed it by a petition with nearly 100,000 signatures. Despite her absence, I-DLE managed to stay on their feet as a group, but since she had disappeared, people started to get curious about her whereabouts. Was she hiding because she was guilty, or was she just getting away from public scrutiny? It all started with the rumors that Soojin might start a solo career as an artist under Big Planet Made Entertainment. This made her fans happy because, hey, signing with a respectable agency after the entirety of South Korea was trying to cancel her was quite a big deal. However, the agency quickly denied these reports, which diminished the hopes of everyone who thought she would get to start with a clean slate. Then a friend of Soojin's reassured fans about her well-being during an Instagram live session, but mind you, fans hadn't seen her whatsoever at this point, and the future remained unclear for Soojin. Even if she wanted a return to the industry, it would be a great challenge due to the apparent boycott by the Korean public, who would mention her accusations whenever they got their chance. It was true that she had the international fans to her side, but any potential comeback would likely take time, at least until the public got used to her again. There are only a few celebrities that could come back after a scandal this big. The first update that came directly from Soojin was an update regarding her lawsuit. 1 year after she left I-DLE, Choi Seung-hwan, a legal representative from Barun Law LLC in Seoul, issued an official statement regarding the outcome of Soojin's lawsuit against the initial accuser, who accused her of school mistreatment. The statement acknowledges that Soojin did use strong language against the accuser, as asserted by the alleged victim, but it clarifies that there is no evidence to back up the accusation of mistreatment. The statement also mentions that Soojin personally apologized to the accuser. The statement then addresses the accuser's claim that Soojin mistreated her during their first year of middle school. It's revealed that not only was Soojin cleared of wrongdoing by the school's Autonomous Committee for School Violence Countermeasures, but it was also discovered that Soojin had been a victim of mistreatment by her seniors herself. The statement states that Soojin pursued legal action against the accuser to resolve the matter, but the police ended up dropping the charges against the accuser, suggesting that the accusations might have some truth and no evidence of fraud was found. After all, it's difficult to prove things that happened years ago, and as the legal representative pointed out, there was a lack of solid evidence to support the background details, aside from conflicting statements. Consequently, Soojin recognized that she couldn't prove her innocence through legal channels, leading her to abandon the lawsuits. The statement emphasized that Soojin wanted to clarify her stance to the fans that were still supporting her and anyone who might have been affected by the issue. The representative also acknowledged that these words might be seen as explanations, but maintains that Soojin wishes to share her perspective. Fans argued that Shin A's accusations were pretty vague, and yet netizens jumped at the chance to cancel Soojin, but were glad that she tried to clear her name in the best way she could. Overall, they still showed their support towards her, and made it clear that if she ever decided to come back to the industry, they would be behind her. But her legal representative's statement started a brand new rumor about her status, with people speculating that she might rejoin I-DLE for their comeback with Nude. The group was set to return with their 5th mini-album titled I Love in October of last year. As part of the teasers for the album, Cube Entertainment unveiled 3 versions of the album cover to the public. However, fans noticed a captivating detail on the cover that prompted them to theorize that Soojin might join I-DLE as a member once again. In the X-File version of the front cover, the members' names are listed alongside a cancel sign positioned between Seoyeon and Yuki's names. This led fans to believe that this is a potential reference to Soojin, hinting at her being cancelled. Furthermore, the initial absence of the letter G in I-DLE on the I Never Die album cover, which marked the girl group's first comeback without Soojin, had now been restored. Netizens speculated that this could be an indicator that Soojin might rejoin the group for a final comeback, considering her innocence has been basically confirmed. But as you might know, this never ended up happening. This was the last unofficial update on Soojin until April of this year. But now, instead of hearing about her well-being from a friend, or getting notified that she sent gifts to a birthday cafe, fans actually saw her in person. An article titled Witness Account of I-DLE's Soojin was published on April 1st on the online community site NatePan. The poster shared that they saw Soojin on the street that day, and noted that she briefly took off her mask to greet fans who recognized her. They also publicly shared a photo and video clip which showed the back view of a woman believed to be Soojin and another woman who appeared to be her friend. Witnesses who claimed to have seen Soojin that that day also shared their experiences on Twitter. Fans and netizens were overjoyed to catch a glimpse of Soojin after her 2-year absence. While this was a bit of a rundown on Soojin's status and whereabouts until now, nothing compares to the moment when people discovered that Soojin had opened her own personal Instagram account. In her first post, Soojin shared a photo without any captions. The picture shows her wearing a white hat and shirt with matching sunglasses, which let us know that despite everything that has happened to her, she hasn't lost her ability to serve looks and face. Fans who saw the photo were excited and left comments to express how much she was missed by everyone. And if you were wondering just how happy everyone was, the fact that she reached more than 1 million followers in only a few hours must be some kind of indication. However, some netizens had different thoughts, wondering if she might be considering a return to the industry and was taking baby steps, with the first one being the launch of her brand new Instagram account. Unfortunately, even though it's been 2 years since the scandal happened, fans are still unaware of what steps Soojin is planning to take. Is she trying to make the public warm up to her through her Instagram account before she decides to come back as an idol? Or is she just trying to live a normal life but has chosen to update her fans to show that she's thankful for the support? Whatever happens, everyone's just happy that she feels comfortable enough to share her life with the public again, despite what they made her go through.
Soon after debuting as a soloist, new information began to surface that changed everything people thought they knew. This is where the real story begins about what was actually happening behind the scenes. Soojin, who just debuted as a soloist, is facing a lot of challenges at the start of her career, from whispers of blacklistment to surprising weight loss and rumored disagreements with her former agency, Cube Entertainment. There seems to be a lot of issues. After dealing with a career-ruining scandal in 2021, pretty much nobody thought that Soojin could ever come back to the industry. No matter how much proof she provided of her innocence, netizens were already convinced that she was guilty and would never let her prove otherwise. So, a career in an industry where many netizens hated her seemed like an impossible thing, yet Soojin managed to return. She took a few steps to make people warm up to her by not announcing her solo right away, but by opening a personal Instagram account. Even though there were mixed reactions to this, Soojin reached more than 1 million followers in only a few hours, and her Instagram account became a big topic in fandom spaces and in online forums. Her true fans were more than happy to have her back, and it showed that if she were to come back, then she would have a lot of support internationally. However, they still had no idea what Soojin was planning to do in the future. Would she be coming back as an idol, or did she open her Instagram account to give her fans a glimpse of her life as a commoner? Luckily for everyone, it was the first option. After posting on her Instagram for a few months, on October 16th, several news outlets reported that not only had she signed to another company, but she was planning on making her solo debut very soon. Of course, the first instinct from everyone was to be doubtful of the information. It was mostly because nobody had even heard of her company, BRD Communications, and nothing could be found about it when searching online. Not only that, but to some, it was very unlikely that any Korean company would want to associate with her. Whether they believed that she was innocent or not didn't matter, as most Korean companies wouldn't want to associate with an idol who went through a mistreatment scandal. But BRD Communications is a real company, and they also gave Soojin respect, a safe place to grow as an artist, and the solo debut she deserved. Soojin went on to open accounts on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube in addition to her Instagram. She uploaded her first video on her channel, which was a dance performance video titled Black Forest. Then her comeback Agashi got announced, with its release date being November 8th. As soon as Agashi dropped, people had different opinions. Some loved it, some found it lackluster, and others were just happy to see her back. Even those who were disappointed by the debut figured that Soojin probably had to play it safe with the sound, so as to not face further scrutiny from the public. No matter what people thought of the debut, it's undeniable that it did a lot better than everyone expected. On November 10th, the music video for Agashi snagged the #1 spot on the worldwide trending chart. That's not all. The album did just as good globally, hitting the top of the iTunes chart in 9 different places, including Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, and Vietnam. The album also surpassed 50,000 sales on Hanteo and reached 109 on Genie and 48 on Melon Hot 100. And even though her album wasn't exactly welcomed by Korean netizens, it was obvious that they were at least a bit curious, seeing as she occupied 3 spots on the Melon real-time search the day of her debut. Soojin herself was in disbelief that this was happening in the first place. In a Q&A that was released the day of her debut, Soojin said, "It doesn't feel real yet. I think it was more realistic and thoughtful when I went through the process of working on it. I was very nervous nervous about how people would perceive me before the release of the contents, but I'm thankful that my fans like it. However, as you probably expected, this wouldn't be exactly easy for Soojin. Her scandal was pretty big, and since it resulted in her being forced out of her group and the company, it was hard for people to forget what went on. As mentioned, despite her success overseas or the netizens' curiosity regarding her album, it was already known that the possibilities of her having mainstream success in South Korea were little to none. A positive update was that she would appear on Studio Choom to perform Agashi, which surprised a lot of people because, let's be honest, nobody expected that she would be able to promote on shows again or do variety as other idols. Again, it didn't matter whether she was guilty or not, as the vast Korean public had already decided and companies were going to go along with it. But after appearing on Studio Choom, the sad news hit the internet. It was reported on November 10th that Soojin had allegedly canceled her domestic promotions and would be catering to her international fan base instead. The report said that BRD Entertainment, Soojin's agency, revealed that Soojin wouldn't appear on any music broadcasts and would be connecting with fans through social media and continue holding fan meetings. They said that they would provide an explanation later, but most people thought that this decision was made because of her scandal. Even I-DLE media concluded that this was just BRD Entertainment's strategy backfiring in their faces. The media outlet said that the company had tried to debut Soojin quietly without any mention of her past controversy, which according to them isn't genuine, but of course the public remembered, which could be why she isn't promoting in Korea. There's also a speculation that she's being blacklisted by the entertainment industry because, let's be honest, despite Cube Entertainment not being the biggest company, they still have the power and the influence to make Soojin's solo career not easy. While it would technically not make sense for Cube to do this, especially since I-DLE are doing just as well without her and nobody associates the two anymore, the company could just be bitter about how things turned out. But looking at how she has a distribution deal with both Mnet and Stone Music Entertainment and worked with choreographer Loverin and producers Flip and Puff, who wouldn't have given her the time of day if she was blacklisted, it looks like the blacklistment theory is most likely untrue. This leaves us with two options. The first is that maybe both her company and Soojin decided that it would be best for now if she didn't promote domestically, especially since the Korean public is very welcoming about her. They could have tasted the waters with Agashi and Soojin's appearances in Studio Choom and the fan meetings, just to see if they could get the audiences to warm up to her. Not to mention that Soojin could be feeling nervous since this is the first time she's promoting without the I-DLE members, and it could be nerve-wracking to perform in front of crowds of people when she has been laying low for nearly 3 years. The second option is that there were simply no available slots for her on music shows. A Reddit user brought up Wheein as an example, who, despite having no controversies, couldn't appear on Music Core and Inkigayo because producers thought she wouldn't attract enough viewers. The article about the cancellation of her schedules also could be nothing but part of a campaign to taint her image. The fans noted that the article in question was actually written by a reporter who had written a bunch of articles in 2021 smearing Soojin when she was dealing with her school mistreatment controversy. In fact, if you look at the few past articles that the journalist in question has written, he mentions the words school violence in every single title, so people believe that he's not trustworthy. Additionally, it was pointed out that the article didn't mention any scheduled promotions she could cancel, and her company stated they don't have anything planned, which might mislead readers into thinking the public doesn't want her. What we should focus on right now is Soojin's mental health. Being under so much scrutiny can't be good for one's well-being, and fans are already suspecting that it's affecting her. When pictures and videos from her fan meeting came out, a lot of people noticed that she had lost a lot of weight, to the point where she looked shockingly thin. This could be her way of getting the public to notice her once again. The worst possibility is that she lost weight due to the amount of stress and pressure she has had to face these past few years. We can hope that's not the case, but idols already have it hard enough. It doesn't help that she had to deal with everything else on top of that too. What's important is that Soojin's debut proved more than ever that she still has the support of her fans even 2 years later. They showed it through streams, sales, and very kind words to Soojin herself during fan calls. It seems like she also has the support of her former group, or at least in some way. Even though we doubt that the I-DLE members can publicly interact with her, Shuhua's close friend followed Soojin, and Minnie's brother has liked her picture, so she's probably still in contact with the members, which really warms our hearts. While this comeback might have been hard, we hope that Soojin knows that she's very loved and that this will get much easier for her with every comeback she has. She just has to keep doing what she loves, and she'll always have her fans behind, encouraging her in every step of the way, and we'll be here to do so as well. And even after she returned with her solo debut, her journey was far from easy. The challenges only grew, creating issues that quickly turned her comeback into a struggle. This is where the problems surrounding her solo career became impossible to ignore. Former I-DLE member Soojin has managed to successfully come back from a harassment scandal, which is not something a lot of South Korean public figures can say. However, many netizens question if there is actually a place for her in the industry. After facing accusations of harassment back in 2021 and leaving both I-DLE and KOOKIELIT Entertainment, many believe Soojin's return to the industry was impossible. Despite providing evidence of her innocence, netizens were still convinced of her guilt and wouldn't even let her prove otherwise. Yet, against all odds, Soojin managed to get back where she belonged, on stage, singing and performing. Thankfully, due to all the backlash she had gotten because of the scandal, she took a strategic approach by not announcing her solo plans immediately, but by starting with a personal Instagram account on which she reached millions of followers in a record time. This showed that despite the criticism, she still had a strong international fan base ready to support her. Then, in October 2023, news outlets reported that Soojin had signed with a new company and was planning her solo debut. Initially, this news was met with skepticism because, well, for one, her new company, BRD Communications, was unknown, and many doubted any Korean company would want to associate with her due to the scandal. Regardless of her innocence, most Korean companies would typically avoid an idol with a controversial past. However, BRD Communications proved to be legitimate and provided Soojin with the support and opportunity she needed to make her solo debut. Her first YouTube video was a dance performance titled Black Forest, marking the beginning of her new journey before she announced that she would be releasing music as a soloist for the first time. Following the news of her unexpected debut, people were very excited to see what direction she was going in with her solo career, and the expectations were high. I-DLE, the group she was a part of, is one of the most creative groups in the industry, and what makes everything better is that the members are involved in everything. While it was unrealistic to expect Soojin to release similar music to that of I-DLE, people were still hopeful that Soojin would use her solo career to showcase her charisma and talents, which had made fans fall in love with her in the past. However, when she released Agashi, people were underwhelmed, to say the least. It felt like the label was playing it safe, which was understandable. BRD is a small and unknown company, with Soojin being its only artist. She had also been the center of one of the biggest K-pop scandals in recent years, and up to that point, it was thought that she had disappeared from the public eye completely due to the backlash she got. Soojin herself mentioned that she wanted her first song to be less flashy, as she wanted to show a different side of herself. She also said she wanted to maintain her signature strong charisma while also revealing a more pure and mysterious side to herself. But Agashi failed to showcase this. In fact, the song actually reminded people of I-DLE's Hwa, and while it had people feeling nostalgic, they weren't sure that this was the smartest move, as she needed to build an identity of her own. In general, Agashi didn't say a lot about Soojin as a solo artist, which was crucial for her as a new artist. The song also didn't do any justice to Soojin's strengths as an idol, which are her performance and dancing skills, nor did it manage to capture the attention of those who weren't already keeping up with her. There were also people who pointed out that Soojin didn't seem like her old self during her comeback, in the sense that she lacked confidence and stage presence. Compared to her performances when she was a member of I-DLE, you could tell that there was a stark difference in her demeanor and how she handled herself on stage. Fans assumed that it was because the scandal had chipped away at her confidence, and it would be a while before she got comfortable with being on stage again. Another reason why the comeback unfortunately fell flat is the company's management. Now, we can't be too harsh on them, since it seems like BRD only dipped its toes into the entertainment industry in 2023 when it was announced that Soojin had signed a contract with them. And if we're being completely honest, they're doing a decent job considering the circumstances. They gave Soojin a mini album for her debut, had her collaborate with La Chica for the choreography of the title track, and gave her a few promotions like the gig on Studio Choom and a performance on N-Pop. There was also a lot of content for fans, like vlogs, dance practice videos, and behind-the-scenes footage. However, there were also a few complaints on how they did things. For example, when it was first released, you couldn't find Agashi anywhere on streaming services or YouTube unless you wrote her name in capital letters or without typing the title in Hangul. There are also no English subtitles on the videos, which is a pretty big mistake on BRD's part, especially since most of Soojin's support came from her international fans. How were they supposed to keep up with the content if they couldn't understand it? One of the aspects they were criticized for the most, though, was the lack of promotions for the song. The company said that they were focusing on her promotions overseas, which is why she didn't go to any music shows. At the time, the company announced, "It's not that we aren't completely not promoting at the moment. The fan signing event has already been held once and will continue in the future." While they didn't give any actual reason, it was suspected that she was blacklisted in the industry due to the scandal. Others assumed that the company was protecting Soojin from getting backlash for returning. But either way, some found it strange that Soojin wouldn't be returning on stage, especially since it was necessary for her to be successful. However, However, maybe that was the best decision for the company and most importantly, Soojin. By not really mentioning the controversy and gradually rebuilding her image, she and the company can help the public get used to her presence without the accusations resurfacing constantly. She already has a loyal core fan base, something many new soloists lack. This gives her a solid foundation to build upon, so what BRD can do now is try their best to give this support. She has also been very introverted ever since the start of her career, and it probably isn't helping that she knows that K-nets aren't fond of her and that she will get hate for basically nothing. The album did pretty well though, especially considering the circumstances. According to Hanto, Agashi managed to surpass 70,000 physical sales in just a week, which was an impressive feat to achieve while having a serious scandal that put a dent in your reputation and no promotions. Judging by this, it was assumed that her other releases would do even better. Then her first comeback was announced. By that time, Soojin had been regularly updating fans on platforms like From and Instagram, ensuring they always had new content from her. So when her comeback was announced, both fans and non-fans were eager to see what she would do next. They also recalled that when asked what genres or concepts she would like to try out on her first comeback, Soojin had answered, "For my next album, I would like to experiment with rhythmic melodies and songs." She also said that she was looking to challenge herself all the time and experience new things, so the anticipation was high for her return. The criticism this time started ever since the title of the album was announced, which was Riz. This had fans accusing the company of trying too hard to pander to the Western audience. The term is considered too outdated and cringe, especially since it was going to be the title of her first comeback album. But the album in itself was received a lot better than Agashi. For one, the title track Mona Lisa was more energetic, the choreography was a lot more impressive, and it stood out more compared to her first solo. The dance routines were also more diverse, which made people think that it was specifically designed to showcase Soojin's dance skills. The B-sides of the album also helped Soojin build a sound of her own, which is pretty atmospheric music with a slower tempo, a touch of dance elements, and strong spring and summer vibes. The music video was of a higher budget, which was impressive for a small company, and it managed to attract attention towards the release. Soojin also managed to break her own record as Riz sold 27,000 copies on the first day, while Agashi sold less than 10,000. She also promoted the song a bit more this time as she performed on Show Champion and Arirang, with both performances receiving a warm reception. But this era didn't go without criticism as well. Once again, the title track was considered repetitive, forgettable, and outdated, with several commenters pointing out that the song would have definitely been a hit if it had been released a few years earlier. A Redditor commented, "While I respect the experimental approach to the instrumental, Mona Lisa doesn't pack a punch like Agashi's does. Just a very weird song that has similarities to Agashi but fumbles on the execution." To some people, Mona Lisa also felt very similar to Agashi, which unfortunately showed that she wasn't ready to take any risks with her releases yet, despite her saying otherwise in the past. All in all, with releases that don't manage to stand out and a company that is still figuring out how the industry works, it will probably take a long time before Soojin manages to shed the former I-DLE title and break out on her own. She has a lot of potential both as a vocalist and a dancer, so to not let her songs utilize her abilities is a big loss. While Soojin was fighting to stand on her own, the group she left behind had to rebuild itself from the ground up. Many wondered if I-DLE could survive without her, but what happened next completely changed the direction of their future. At one point, it seemed like I-DLE would not be able to survive their scandal. Over time, the girls showed how strong they actually are and proved that not even a huge scandal can bring them down. This is the story of how I-DLE broke the standard. February of 2021 can be dubbed as one of the worst months in K-pop history. Idols were being accused of horrible things left and right, and it seemed like every single day there was a new different scandal. A lot of people's names were tainted during that month, and while most of them were able to get back on their feet, some weren't so lucky. I-DLE are somehow in the middle. They literally raised themselves from the ashes like a phoenix, although in the beginning, it seemed like this could be their end. The first accusation about Soojin came out on February 20th, and she was accused by someone called A. That person claimed that their younger sibling and the alleged victim attended the same middle school as Soojin. Soojin was suddenly facing accusations of initiating fights between two other people and being verbally mean to A's sibling. Allegedly, Soojin also stole uniforms of other people or would go around and steal their money. On top of that, Soojin Soojin supposedly hung out with older guys who rode motorcycles, and she was often seen drinking and smoking. It was a hard time both for the group and their fans. The situation got only worse when the actress Soojin decided to come forward and claim that she was also a victim of Soojin's behavior in middle school. The actress wrote quite a cryptic post on her Instagram story, and people quickly assumed that she was talking about Soojin since they previously went to school together. Shin wrote, "None of your excuse" on her Instagram story, and people believed that she was confronting Soojin. Shin shared that she went through a tough time because of one person all the way back in 2012, and her fans applauded her for finally sharing the truth about the person who hurt her. This time as well, Cube Entertainment denied any allegations. Then Soojin came forward with her statement. She admitted to smoking a couple of times in the past, but clarified that it's been a long time since she had her last cigarette. Soojin also shared that she once considered herself to be friends with A, as she once had a meal at her house or went to the movies with A and her older sister. A's older sister actually helped Soojin when she was being threatened over text and having a hard time in general. At the end of her statement, Soojin shared her thoughts on why A would say such horrible things about her. Soojin offered an explanation. "From what I remember, I had a fight with the girl because she broke a promise. It wasn't her first time, so I remember getting mad at her for it. I'm embarrassed about it, but I remember cursing at her over the phone. Since then, the girl and I really drifted apart and never really made up." Soojin once again clarified that she never got physical with anyone, as well as disputing Shin's claims that she was mean to her in the past. That wasn't the end of it all. The situation got worse and worse with each day, and Soyeon was actually involved at one point as well. The alleged victim of Soyeon's misbehavior was supposedly her former classmate. According to them, Soyeon used to torment them so badly that they once considered transferring to a different school and even begged their parents to send them to a school in a different country. The person claimed that she had evidence until she had to switch her phones and wished Soyeon all the best in her career since she believed Soyeon's karma will get her. Soojin was still the person everyone was talking about though. A little bit of hope came on February 25th when one of Soojin's former classmates came forward to debunk Shin's allegations against Soojin. The former classmate shared something that shocked a lot of people. Supposedly, it was Soojin who wasn't treated nicely and that Soojin and Shin never crossed paths. The former classmate explained that after Soojin stopped hanging out with her previous group of friends, the two became quite close. Because of that, Soojin was constantly mocked by her former friends, and the former classmate clarified that they would side-eye Soojin each time they saw her, even going as far as telling other people not to hang out with her. The former classmate also confirmed what Soojin wrote in her statement, that Soojin never hurt Shin in any way, and that their classrooms were on different floors so they hardly saw each other anyway. Cube Entertainment announced Soojin will halt all of her activities on March 4th, and at this point, the group's fans were seriously heartbroken. The agency actually came under fire on March 9th when they posted a tweet dedicated to Soojin's birthday. While their fans appreciated it, many netizens voiced their criticism. The replies under the tweet were full of comments such as, "They're out of their minds," and "I apologize to the rest of the members, but I don't really want to consume anything from Cube anymore." A couple days later, fans saw another glimpse of light when Soojin's alleged aunt came to Soojin's defense. Her aunt claimed that Soojin was the target of her malicious classmates, adding that some individuals who accused Soojin weren't even real. The aunt wrote, "Another accuser made 9 accounts pretending to be 9 different people and kept sharing posts that accused Soojin. Only when the internet started questioning some of the posts, that person tried to make excuses for a bit before completely disappearing." Shin also released another lengthy post where she fired back at Soojin yet again and shared what happened with more details. The timing of the scandal was something straight out of a nightmare. I-DLE had a special song for the fan platform Universe scheduled to be released in April of 2021. Because of what went down with Soojin, the group had to completely re-record the whole song and even refilm the music video. For a few months, Soojin was on a hiatus and the group was promoting with 5 members. Then, in August of 2022, I-DLE's fans had to go through the worst thing that could possibly happen to a fan. Soojin officially withdrew from the group. Even though Soojin denied the claims and expressed she didn't remember the incidents happening, this seemed like the best decision to make. The agency statement read, "We would like to inform you that it was decided So Soojin will withdraw from the group effective today." This angered a lot of fans because there was no finished verdict in Soojin's scandal and no one knew if she was even guilty or not. Those angered fans then took out their frustration in the comment section on Shin's YouTube channel, pointing their fingers at her and blaming her for Soojin's departure from the group. A few days after Soojin's departure, a petition for Soojin's justice was made. The main problem Soojin's fans had was the fact that she wasn't allowed to give an official statement. The last time Soojin spoke up about it was on her Instagram, and then it was basically 6 months of radio silence after that. In just 3 days, the petition gained over 160,000 signatures. It was one of the top signed petitions on the website at the time, and it said a lot about the impact Soojin's departure had. A lot of people wish this could have ended differently as well, as they believe Soojin Soojin seriously deserved better treatment from her agency. While no one knows if Soojin will ever return back to the industry, it's incredible to see the rest of the girls absolutely thriving, even if their careers were once almost gone. It seemed that after what happened, the girls came back stronger than ever. Earlier this year, when the group made their comeback with Tomboy, the girls actually became the first group to achieve perfect all-kill in 2022 with that song. This can only be achieved if a song ends up #1 on the daily and 24-hour charts on Melon, daily and real-time charts on Genie, Bugs, Flow, and iChart. In their most recent comeback with Nude, Soyeon successfully clapped back at her haters. In the music video, there's a scene where Soyeon is on a live broadcast and there are live comments appearing on the side. Their fans didn't miss the comments, saying stuff like "music for dumb people" or "Soyeon can't rap." Soyeon showed everyone what she thinks about those comments by metaphorically stripping herself to show her authentic self. Overall, the comeback has been extremely successful, both the title track and the mini album called I-LE. Quickly after its release, both the album and the song ended up at the top of the music charts in Korea and abroad. By October 19th, according to the agency, I-LE ended up as #1 on iTunes top albums charts in at least 40 different countries across the world, including France, New Zealand, Singapore, or Denmark. By 11 p.m. of the same day, Nude was still #1 on multiple domestic music charts such as Melon, Genie, Bugs, and Flow. Even before I-LE was released, it was already breaking records. On October 11th, it was announced that the mini album surpassed 700,000 stock pre-orders, which is the highest number of the group's stock pre-orders so far. Stock pre-orders means the amount of albums that is produced prior to the album's release, and the number was set to increase once the album was actually released. Not only their fans, but netizens as well are happy to see the group thriving after having such a tough year in 2021. Most fans also wish Soojin could have been there with them, but at least it seems like Soojin was referenced in Nude. Since Nude pays tribute to Marilyn Monroe, many fans thought that it was actually for Soojin, since Marilyn used to be Soojin's huge role model. The animated blonde woman in the music video could be Soojin according to fan speculations. Even if this was intentional or not, it's obvious the fans and her members miss her a lot, and honestly, Soojin deserved to be a part of these successful comebacks as well. But even as I-DLE moved forward, one question never stopped following them. What is the relationship between Soojin and the members now? Do they still support each other, or did the story truly break their connection? Since Soojin left I-DLE and Cube Entertainment, there have been no public interactions between her and the group, leading to theories about their current situation. There are also rumors that Soyeon may have subtly shaded Soojin during the group's latest performance, leaving people wondering about where their relationship stands now. Soojin's mistreatment scandal was one of the most shocking moments of 2021, and it was even more shocking when she allegedly decided to leave both I-DLE and Cube. Even though her innocence was basically proven, it took 2 whole years before she made her first public appearance. Now, the scandal has been mostly forgotten by the general public as Soojin has started her career as a solo artist with 2 successful releases and a sound of her own. However, understandably so, people found it hard to separate her from her former group, seeing as she was such an important part of it, but due to the absence of public interactions between the two, the public wondered if they still had a connection or if they just grew apart. After all, I-DLE were known for the close bond between the members, who were more like sisters and soulmates rather than co-workers. So, was the scandal enough to ruin this friendship between them, or is there more to the story that we don't know about? If you were to ask fans, the I-DLE members have always been obvious about how much they love and think of Soojin, even after her time in the group came to an end. In fact, Soojin is rumored to have been subtly acknowledged in nearly every I-DLE comeback since her departure. If you look closely, you can spot these hidden hints, which suggest the group is still keeping her presence alive in their projects. The hint started with Tomboy, the group's first ever comeback since Soojin's departure. In the music video, the girls open the car's trunk and 6 heart-shaped balloons fly out of it, which fans believed was a reference to the fact that the group used to have 6 members. Additionally, the point choreography of the song, the one with the iconic hand pose, was also Soojin's signature hand pose. Then, when the packaging for their album I-LE was teased, fans noticed a detail that had them wondering whether this was another way for I-DLE to make a reference to their former member. In the X-File version, on the right side of the album, the members' names are listed, with a red crossed-out circle between Soyeon and Yuki's names. Even though it was never confirmed, fans theorized that the members had left a place out for Soojin. There were even rumors at the time that she might return to the group for that comeback, but they ultimately didn't come true. However, that didn't mean that there weren't other alleged subtle references to Soojin. Fans quickly pointed out that the animated character in the Nude music video, with blonde hair and a mole under her right eye, bore a striking resemblance to Soojin. This sparked theories that the I-DLE members intentionally included her likeness as a nod to her, suggesting they wanted her to be part of the comeback, even if only symbolically. quickly. In addition to that, Yuki and Minnie appear dressed as Marilyn Monroe at some point in the music video, which might seem like just a part of the overall concept. However, Soyeon revealed the concept was inspired by Marilyn, and fans couldn't help but recall Soojin's well-known obsession with her. She even had Marilyn's photos as her phone background. So was this all just a coincidence, or was it a hidden tribute to Soojin? The references don't stop there. At the end of the Queen Card music video, the phrase "I feel blue" appears, which fans connected to Soojin's tattoo that says blue. While this may seem like a reach, Soojin later added 2 butterfly tattoos in the same place, and the I Feel album includes a butterfly version. Soyeon posted the butterfly version of the album inclusions on her Instagram story with a butterfly emoji, which fans took as a quiet tribute to Soojin. Mind you, this was all done before anyone ever knew what happened to Soojin. Then, after 2 years of staying out of the public eye following her departure from Cube and I-DLE, Soojin returned in June 2023 by creating an Instagram account and sharing her first post. Just a day later, Soyeon made a post on her own Instagram wearing a Dobby is free shirt. To explain, this quote is from Harry Potter, referencing the moment when the house elf Dobby gains his freedom after Harry gives him a sock. The phrase has since become a symbol of liberation, often used in a lighthearted or metaphorical way. To add to it, Soyeon put fighting as the caption, making people believe that she was sending an indirect message of support to Soojin. Not all references to her were so indirect though. In August of the same year, I-DLE dropped a new video on their YouTube channel where Shuhwa interviewed the group. After introducing the members, Shuhwa stunned everyone by saying, "One member is missing, huh?" Following it up by jokingly telling the others that they should have come as a full group. Either way, the comment left the group shocked, with Miyeon briefly breaking character to burst into laughter. Soyeon quickly followed up, also joking that something bad had happened to her. Shuhwa's words led to many theories about what she might have meant by that. Some people said that she was probably referring to herself since she was emceeing and, in that scenario, was missing from the group lineup. Others stated that Shuhwa is always known to be very bold and careless, so it's very likely that she was talking about Soojin as well. And then, I-DLE released the music video for their track Revenge in February of this year. The music video received a lot of praise for its visuals and storyline, but there was something else that really caught people's attention. In one of the scenes, fans spotted a piece of paper on the board with Soojin's birth date, March 9th, 1998. In fact, many believe the entire video alludes to Soojin's scandal. One Twitter user even suggested that each member's role symbolizes aspects related to her. Minnie reflects Soojin's idol persona, Miyeon embodies the investigation into the truth, Soyeon represents Soojin trying to clear her name, Yuki shows her passion while facing accusations, and Shuhwa represents Soojin's true self and what she went through. A fan also pointed out that Soyeon wrote this song after finally experiencing the desire for revenge, something she hadn't felt before. It's also seen as her way of expressing the pressure she once felt, as Miyeon had mentioned Soyeon crying because of it. Given all these apparent references and hints, many believe the group is on good terms with Soojin and that they will reunite when the circumstances allow them to do so. Soyeon and the other members are deeply involved in every aspect of their careers: concepts, outfits, music videos, choreography, and more. So either all these acknowledgements are just mere coincidences, or they are intentional nods to Soojin, meant to reassure her and their fans that, although she's no longer part of I-DLE, she remains a cherished member. The group seems to want to show that Soojin will never be forgotten by them or their fans, no matter what. However, this all changed for some people after I-DLE's performance at the Mama Awards ceremony in Japan. On November 23rd, Soyeon impressed the audience with a standout solo performance, staying true to her reputation for making bold statements on stage. In 2022, she made waves by calling out Mama, and this year, she took it further by directly mentioning Soojin by name, tackling the uncertainty the group faced after her exit in 2021. She rapped, "In 2021, you said, 'Do you think you'll make it without Soojin? Contracts and companies, I said I'm going to take care of it.' Reasonably, the crowd was stunned when Soojin's name was said, as it's rare for K-pop idols to speak about past members. Her performance also sparked a lot of speculation. Was Soyeon throwing shade at Soojin, or simply addressing the things that were said about the group after her departure? Some speculated that Soyeon was throwing her former member under the bus, with one user commenting, "Shading Soojin to make yourself and your group look better is such a low move. This won't change the fact that she was the most popular member." Others called her messy, saying that there was no reason to imply that the group was doing well despite the fact that she was no longer a member. One user argued that while mentioning their success is normal, referencing Soojin's absence was uncalled for. Other people had different explanations for it. In fans' opinions, Soyeon was probably in between contracts at the moment, which is likely why she didn't hesitate to bring up Soojin at all. They were even surprised that anyone saw her words as a dig, especially since Soyeon had referred to her as Soojini. To them, mentioning her was just a reflection of the situation. After she left, many assumed the group would struggle given her popularity as a member. Soyeon Soyeon once even shared that she used to believe the group would fall apart if a member left, expressing how she always had that mindset. Despite the doubts, I-DLE continued to thrive, and that's the message Soyeon aimed to send by mentioning Soojin. As a TikTok commenter best put it, "It's not we don't need her, it's you took her from us but we're still here." It was also brought up that if the two were on bad terms, Soyeon wouldn't have made so many references to her in every comeback since she left. People also noted that without knowing the group's current relationship with Soojin, it's unnecessary to take offense on her behalf. If they're still on good terms, Soyeon likely had permission to bring her up. A few were even speculating that with Soyeon possibly not renewing her contract with Cube, all 6 members might reunite as a group even if they're signed to different agencies. Neither Soojin nor Soyeon have addressed the lyrics yet, but the general consensus seems to be that the two are still as close as ever. That's yet to be seen, but we're still choosing to believe that we're going to see OT6 I-DLE sooner than later. And those questions intensified after the group's rebranding when fans began noticing changes that felt intentional. They believed Soojin was being erased from their history. This is what led to growing anger and confusion. Just recently, I-DLE has rebranded, removed the G from their name, and released an album where former member Soojin's vocals have been replaced by the others. But what's stirring even more speculation are the unsettling teasers, dark, ambiguous, and full of symbolism that fans can't help but analyze. It's got people asking, is this comeback about moving on or calling Soojin out? In April, Cube Entertainment confirmed that I-DLE would be making a comeback in May, and a teaser poster revealed that new music would be released on May 2nd. Fans were excited for several reasons. This would be their first comeback since renewing their contracts with Cube, and many were curious about what this next chapter would look like. The comeback also came sooner than expected, which only added to the anticipation. Then, on May 1st, the group dropped a dramatic teaser video for their upcoming special and 8th mini-album. Shot in black and white, the teaser featured a dark ritual-like scene where the members appeared to challenge religious symbolism, taking on rebellious and mysterious roles. The visuals were stunning and quickly got attention, even from those who weren't usually fans. But what really got people talking were the hints that seemed to point towards Soojin. The group's new logo, shaped like an asterisk with 5 points instead of 6, caught fans' attention immediately. Then there was the scene with the coffin. At first, the members looked mournful, but after lighting a flame, the coffin began to levitate and seemed to come back to life, leading to a celebration. Right as they pointed to the coffin, Soojin's line from the group's debut song Latata played, followed by the members singing it together before vanishing, leaving the coffin behind. Fans began to wonder if this was the group's way of signaling Soojin's return. Some even speculated that Soyeon, who likely had strong influence during contract renewals, could have pushed for Soojin to come back, especially now that she had been proven innocent. A Twitter user wrote, "I don't think any of this would happen in K-pop, but if any group was to bring back a member, it'd 100% be I-DLE." Others also brought back the 2024 Mama Awards performance in Japan, where Soyeon directly mentioned Soojin and her departure. More specifically, she rapped, "In 2021 you said, 'Do you think you'll make it without Soojin? Contracts and companies, I said I'm going to take care of it.'" Due to that and the teaser, a lot of people thought that Soyeon had been soft launching Soojin's return, and this comeback would be the turning point for the group. Not everyone bought into the theory. Some fans were quick to remind others that it's been almost 4 years since Soojin left, and since then, both sides have moved on. The group has continued releasing music without her, and Soojin has been focusing on her solo career. To them, bringing up the possibility of her return every time the group has a comeback just didn't make sense anymore. They felt that energy would be better spent supporting Soojin's own path instead of clinging to what's already in the past. One user expressed their frustration saying, "Can y'all start respecting her solo career? You're just being annoying doing this." Some people even went as far as accusing the group of using Soojin's name just to stir up hype, without ever actually planning to bring her back. The teaser had sparked a ton of buzz, but with no clear answers, curiosity only grew. Then came a surprising twist. Fans began to notice the group had dropped the G from their name completely. Their social media handles were updated, a new logo was introduced, and even the comeback teaser featured the altered name. It wasn't just a visual tweak, but a full rebrand. According to their agency, the change was intentional. The removal of the G in parentheses was meant to move away from traditional gender labels, signaling a more open and fluid identity for the group. The fresh name and updated symbol were designed to reflect the group's evolving image and limitless potential. The shift caught nearly everyone off guard. It's rare for a group this far into their career, especially one as successful as they are, to make such a major change. Some fans fans wondered if this rebrand was just for this comeback, and that they'd eventually go back to their original name once the concept wrapped. Others were excited for the change, with one Twitter account posting, "This feels like Tomboy era all over again, and it was a new chapter to them and treated it as their re-debut. So I'm so excited for this new era." Some fans once again took the group's sudden rebrand as a quiet signal that Soojin might be returning. But those hopes were quickly shattered. Instead of a reunion, what followed was the release of a special album, one that featured re-recorded versions of their old title tracks, this time without Soojin's voice. The original versions remained available, but these new recordings replaced her lines with vocals from the remaining members, reflecting how they've performed the songs on stage since her departure. That move set off a firestorm online. In Korea, the response was mostly positive. Some even admired how the group had taken the step to re-record without a former member, saying they wished their own favorite groups would do the same after lineup changes. International fans, though, had a very different reaction. Many were upset, accusing the group, especially Soyeon, of erasing Soojin's place in their legacy. To them, it felt like a slap in the face after all the subtle signs that had made people think she might return. Fans felt misled, especially since the group renewed their contracts, teased something mysterious, and then clearly signaled they were leaving the past behind. A Reddit post about this read, "Them acting like they were determined to leave Cube, make them pay for what they did, name drop her at Mama just for nothing that seems weird to me, then why didn't they just stay silent?" Some even went as far as accusing Soyeon of intentionally disrespecting Soojin, claiming that using a coffin in the teaser was a direct jab, symbolizing Soojin as if she were gone for good, despite the fact that she's very much alive. Another person wrote, "Why would you make a whole case file about Soojin and imply her being in a grave if you're not going to do anything positive? Now it just looks shady." Some fans accused Soyeon and the other members of harboring jealousy towards Soojin, even suggesting that they purposely excluded her from the re-recorded songs because they felt she was the stronger vocalist. Many netizens began to imagine how Soojin must feel in all of this. She had trained with the group for years, spent 3 years promoting alongside them, only to be kicked out and then watch as the members seemingly referenced her in subtle ways. Then they rebranded and released an album of their old hits, but with Soojin's presence erased entirely. For a lot of people, this felt like an unforgivable move, and they took to online platforms to express their frustration, particularly targeting Soyeon. As the group's leader and the creative force behind many of their concepts and music, they felt she should have been more considerate of Soojin's legacy. After that, fans began to interpret every teaser as a subtle dig at Soojin. In the new trailers, each member found themselves in an unusual scenario where the letter G either fell off or was intentionally removed. The scenes showcased the members' resilience, whether breaking down doors or walking in broken heels. The I-DLE trailer, which featured all 5 members, seemed to mark a symbolic separation from the G, indicating a fresh start for the group. Fans, however, read into this, believing that the G was Soojin and its removal symbolized Soojin's departure. Some even theorized that Soyeon had played a part in Soojin's exit and was now using the rebrand to send a message that Soojin was no longer part of the group. But was this rebrand and the teasers really meant to target Soojin, or was it just K-pop fans reading too much into it and trying to find reasons to blame the members, and especially Soyeon, for something that was out of their control? If you're familiar with I-DLE, then you'd know that a lot of what's being said about the rebrand and the special album is simply off base, and probably even a bit of projection. So let's break it down from the start. First of all, it's odd that people are making such a big deal about the re-recorded songs, especially since the original versions with Soojin are still available to listen to. Plus, since Soojin's departure, the group has consistently performed these tracks with all 5 members at festivals and concerts, so it makes sense that the digital versions now reflect how they perform them live. Sure, some fans may prefer the original recordings, but claiming that this album is meant to throw shade at Soojin doesn't hold up or make sense. In fact, some fans were actually happy to hear Shua get more lines in these new versions than she did before. There's also the business side to consider, because since the profit split changed, re-recording the songs likely made sense from that perspective. Ultimately, this whole situation isn't as dramatic as people are making it out to be. There's also the accusations that the letter G they got rid of represents Soojin, but that's not actually the case. A few years ago, Soyeon explained in an interview with The Star that she came up with the group name while working on her second digital single, Idol Song. She pitched the name to Cube, and after some internal discussions, they decided to go with it. However, in Korean, I-DLE means children, and in English, idle can imply laziness or avoiding work, which is why the group didn't want to be associated with that meaning. To avoid that, they added the G in parentheses, with Soyeon saying it was meant to represent the word girl since they're an all-female group. This addition was made without the members' knowledge just before their debut. But the G was always silent, allowing the group to present themselves as more than just another girl group. Soyeon said, "We came from a mindset that we do not want to conform to any kind of social boundary or prejudice." The members have also shared that they don't want to focus too much touch on being labeled a girl group. Instead, they aim to break free from the typical expectations tied to gender roles. So while the G was there, it's not meant to define them, it's just a part of their name, much like how they strive to be more than what people see on the surface. Because of this, the members have said multiple times that they want to get rid of the G in their name even when Soojin was a member, and both Minnie and Shuhwa said the same thing very recently, so why would the G represent anything else but what the members have said it represents for years? As a user best put it, the G once a label that boxed them in is now being discarded, symbolizing the beginning of liberation. They are now breaking free from all the prejudices. It's likely they wanted to drop the G earlier as they used I-DLE in the packaging for their first album after Soojin's departure. However, they were probably restricted from making such a change until their contracts were renewed. Now that they've signed new contracts, it was the perfect moment for a rebrand. This ties into the ridiculous idea that the coffin in the trailer represents Soojin. If you look closely, there's a G written on the coffin, suggesting that it's not about Soojin, but rather the group symbolically letting go of the G. In fact, the rebrand can actually be seen as a tribute to the time Soojin was with them. Their old name will always represent the 6 members, and they're acknowledging that Soojin will always be part of that history. By moving forward with a new name, they're not erasing the past, but starting fresh. Because of that, the references they made to their former member along the years seem more like a homage to their past, not a sign that they want Soojin back. The reality is, it's been almost 4 years since Soojin left, and all 6 members have thrived in their careers since then. So instead of blaming I-DLE for not entertaining the idea of Soojin returning, a notion that seems to have appeared out of nowhere, fans are encouraging others to focus on supporting Soojin's solo music if they want to hear her voice so bad again. It's time for everyone to respect both sides and let them move forward peacefully. Soojin's story is still full of unanswered questions, and the conversation around her isn't ending anytime soon. If you want to follow how things continue to unfold, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.